The start of the new FPL season is just around the corner, and today I'm going to showcase to you my team selection for Gameweek 1. In goal, I'm opting for Ramsdale and a 4.0 keeper, which for now is Randolph because of his low percentage of ownership, but let's discuss the main goalkeeper. I replaced Onana with Ramsdale because I wanted to have Arsenal defender of a sort, being their goalkeeper or someone between Saliba or Gabriel. I just couldn't fit anyone into my defense because I have a pretty attacking lineup, and Saliba or Gabriel do not fit it, even though they have a pretty good goal threat from set pieces. I don't believe that they are better than the other defenders that are in my side, but we'll discuss the defenders in a minute. Ramsdale, pretty good fixtures. Only hard games are in game week 4, 6, and 8, but they are home fixtures, so Ramsdale can keep a lot of saves and maybe keep a not clean sheet here and there against oppositions such as Manchester City, Spurs, and Manchester United. The other 5 games pretty seems to be okayish to say. Home fixtures to start the season, so a pretty good start is in his ranks. Maybe if he concedes some goals and he will rack some bonus points because of saves, we have to see. But I believe that going without an Arsenal defender is too risky from the start to say, because I enjoy their team. I think their team will improve game week, basically from game week 1 onwards, and having a defensive cover up to say is good enough. Ramsdale, for me, he's the same as Onana, the same price, 5.0, and they have basically the same difficulty of fixtures, but I believe that Arsenal defense will keep a little bit more clean sheets, and he may be persuaded to make a little bit more saves because of their attacking approach. So yeah, he may be more attacked, but that means more saves and that means more points for me. Last season, with Saliba being in the side, they were very good defensively, and if Zinchenko returns, I believe Ramsdale can keep a lot of clean sheets like he did last season. So yeah, for the start of the season, I'm going for Ramsdale. Most probably I will swap him in my wild card, but that's for a future video. And on the bench, a 4.0 keeper, that's not going to price drop basically, and Randolph fits the bill. He's a Bournemouth goalkeeper. If something happens with Neto, he's coming in, so I don't see him coming in. But yeah, 4.0 for a not playing goalkeeper and not dropping the price, it's the best thing that I can do on my bench for the goalkeeper position. So yeah, that's the two, Ramsdale and Randolph for now, and I don't see changing any of them before game week 1. For the start of the season, I opted for a 3 at the back and 2 okayish substitutes. Hear me out. So first of all, Chilwell against Liverpool. He's playing so offensively in preseason. Yeah, he's sharing some minutes with Cucurella, but I don't see that happening in the season. Even if he's substituted, he's going to be substituted around the 60th, 65th minute. So maybe he will blank a clean sheet before being substituted if they want to change the approach. But for me, I do not see myself benching Chilwell. Here you can see I don't have any space for an Arsenal defender without going at 4 of the back. So yeah, for now, Chilwell, even a game against Liverpool, it's at home. So a good fixture. He's attacking. If the Liverpool and Chelsea games are just like last season, is going to be 0-0 or 1-1, so a pretty low scoring game. And if it's 0-0, I want to have at least one defender from each side. But if it's a high scoring game, I believe Chilwell will be somehow involved. So in any case, I will be playing Chilwell. I don't see me benching him, not until game week 8 or something happens with him. But yeah, for now, Chilwell is pretty nailed in my side. Next up is John Stones, a away fixture against Burnley. But they're the champions. John Stones is playing like a holding GM. That is basically like a roaming 8, because Rodri will hold the position and John Stones will go forward, or the other case, Rodri will go forward and John Stones will hold the position. It depends on the opposition and it depends on the way that they're building from each side. So yeah, I believe John Stones has a goal threat from set pieces and from some long range opportunities. And yeah, he's already on the score sheet in preseason. That does not mean a lot, but it's good that he's getting his scoring form. And for me, going without a Manchester City asset in defense with their fixtures up until game week 8, basically, it's suicidal. He's racking up in ownership. So yeah, I owned him basically from the start, but now he's getting more and more popular. We'll discuss the ownership later in the video, but for now, Stones and Chilwell are the two most nailed defenders in my side. Estupiñán 5.0, his ownership is so high that I'm afraid to go without him. Yeah, I know that is a cowardly move, but he's good. He is for a reason that highly owned. And with the first three fixtures being so good and then having a home fixture against Bournemouth in game week 6 is pretty eye-catching for me, so I do not want to miss his points. On my bench, I opted for Pedro Porro. He is a pretty expensive bench option, but 5.0 for a starting right back for a side that's having three easy fixtures in game week 3, 4, and 5, where Estupiñán is having a bad fixture. So basically, I will rotate Estupiñán and Porro. I believe that Spurs / Brighton rotation in defense is one of the most overlooked ones because yeah, in game week 3 you're going to have a make a choice between West Ham and an easy fixture for Spurs, but it's one game week that you have to make a tough choice. The others are pretty self-explanatory and they pick themselves. And I believe you can attack a lot of the fixtures. I wanted to have Udoji in my side, but I don't see him as a nailed player. I need to see the last preseason games and how he's playing, what the manager has to say about him. Is he going to play? Is Regulion going to start? We have to see that. Maybe I'll go for Udoji, but Perisic may be getting an opportunity there on the left side, while Porro seems a little bit more nailed than Emerson. And I believe if something happens, I'll just play Stupinan and take the punch in my face because I don't want to change any of my defenders without a free hit transfer. Basically, I don't want to waste them in my regular transfers. So for now, Porro is the Estupiñán cover up. If I don't have to do anything else and if I have to burn a transfer, yeah, I will change a defender. But if I can save a transfer and not use it on a defender, I will do it. But Porro, first two fixtures hard, then three pretty solid fixtures. Then in game week 6 a bad fixture, and in game week 7 so Estupiñán will come in, and then in game week 8 is again a good fixture for Porro. So yeah, the rotation is pretty good. I think you should consider it as well. Spurs are not very good defensively, but their wing backs / fullbacks are going to be pretty good offensively, so you can get up scoring opportunity. Porro can even cover up for a right winger, so he may even play out of position in sometimes. So yeah, I believe Porro Estupiñán is a pretty good rotation. I know it's expensive, it's not the basic 4.5 rotation, but this year it's pretty hard to get good fixtures with a good 4.5 rotation, and there are too many good defenders to avoid, such as Estupiñán, Porro, and Stones. Here in defense, I'm missing Luke Shaw and Trippier and Trent that are highly owned, but you cannot have them all, because if I sacrifice someone from the forward line, I may even suffer more. But for now, those four defenders will be mostly rotating. And my last defender here is Kabore. He's playing as a right wing back for Luton. I know they're not having a game in game week 2, but he's my 14/15 player, so I'm not going to resolve around him a lot. But if something happens with my defense, he can cover up, because after game week 3 their fixtures turn up for the better, and they can surprise a lot of teams because they're newly promoted side and we don't know how they're going to play. Basically, I don't have a lot of newly promoted players here, only Kabore, to be perfectly fair and honest, but I don't see a very high reward for them because in game week 2 most of the players from the newly promoted sides are just having a blank game week, and it's no use to have a starting player from them. But yeah, in defense I feel pretty comfortable because Ramsdale's cover up the Arsenal. Chelsea, who are having the best fixture run up until game week 8, are covered with Chilwell. Manchester City, most nailed player in my opinion, Stones here. The most owned defender is Estupiñán is covered, and I have a pretty good rotation for him when the fixtures get turned for the worse, because even if I opt for a Manchester United or for an Arsenal defender here to rotate with Estupiñán, they have pretty similar bad game weeks. So Porro / Estupiñán is the best rotation that I can find and not just drop Estupiñán. So for me that's the best, and Kabore is here to cover up. Baldock, Bayer, and Bell are another pretty good options, but for me Kabore being a right wing back, and if he is nailed and the manager says that he's going to play, I believe that Kabore can tear up a lot of teams and just provide like the Livramento returns where he played in Southampton. But for now, those four starting defenders in my side and Porro to cover up seems pretty reasonable to me. Write down in the comment section who is in your defense and what you think about mine. But now let's jump into the midfielders. In midfield, I opted for 4 players. That means that I'm playing 3-4-3. That's my favorite formation to start the game because it's more flexible than any other. You're not having a 4.5 forward that you do not want to own. You have a 4.5 playing midfielder, which in my case is Anderson. I believe that he is going to get some regular playtime in the Newcastle side, maybe not 90 minutes, but 20 minutes works the case because he can score a goal. He's playing pretty good, and I'm basically never opting for him. But if something happens, I can just suck it up and have Anderson playing. But for now, let's focus on the main points, and that's the starting midfielders. Here you can see that I have 4 players that are having a home fixture. Let's discuss first the most nailed one. It's Saka. I have not made a draft without Saka, and I do not plan to do so. Even if I have 3 premiums or 2 premiums or 1 premium, that's in my case right now, I'm always owning Saka. I'm sacrificing from somewhere else. A home fixture against Nottingham Forest with the extra additional time being added, he is going to be nailed even and played even more. Penalties are in his pocket, so that makes him even more appealing. He's scoring goals, he's providing chances, he's not being rotated. Nottingham at home, you cannot ask for anything better, and for me, Saka is the most nailed player here, and I don't see me changing him unless there is an injury or suspension on his horizon. Next up, we're going to discuss Bruno Fernandes. As you can see, I have 1 million in the bank, so I can improve Bruno to Rashford pretty easily. I can easily update Martinelli to Rashford as well, but hear me out. The same things goes for Fernandes. He is an out player, he's their captain. He's going to be playing basically the whole duration of the game. He's having penalties, he's scoring long shots, he's getting into dangerous opportunities. Yes, he's missing some clean chances, but you cannot score them all, especially when you're not a prolific striker and he's just an attacking midfielder. But with his goal involvement, I'm pretty happy with the return rate that he is going to return. As well as Saka, I don't see him being sold by any chance before the wild card because they have a pretty okayish home fixture and they can always surprise on the road because they're Manchester United and they can turn up for the better or for the worse. And on the road, as I said, they suffered a lot of hard results last year and they're having their most difficult games on the road, so that's why I'm not owning a Manchester United defender, just to add to the appeal of not owning anyone. But their attack scored some goals here and there. They even scored 3 goals against Manchester City, even though they lost 6-3. But yeah, Fernandes, he's staying in the team, 8.5, a penalty taker, and a pretty nailed guy and their captain. Next up, Mitoma, a home fixture against Luton. Just like Estupinian, I cannot ignore the home fixture against a newly promoted side that I'm pretty comfortable saying that they're going to go down this season because I don't see them staying, but they can just play better and they can improve with the time. But for the start, I believe Brighton are going to destroy them. I hope they're going to destroy them because I own 2 players from them and I rely on them a lot. Here is the position where I was conflicted between Mitoma and Tembumo. I just don't like the Brentford playstyle right now. They're a little bit shaky without Tony. They have to adapt without him. Yeah, and Mbumo, basically he's a nailed player. Penalties looking like that he's having them in the pockets, and he's returning pretty reliable numbers for the last 2 seasons, so you know what to expect. But Mitoma is a bit of a better and more electric player to say, and he brings more joy to me when I watch him, and I enjoy watching him more. So having a Brighton attacker for me was a must and has not changed since game week 1 and the game launched. So yeah, Mitoma is staying in the side. And the 4th player here is Martinelli. Martinelli has a pretty, let's say, good record, but very rotatable. He is being taken out before the end of the game. He's missing some chances. He's having some blank game weeks. But Martinelli and Mitoma are the placeholder players in my side. Basically, they are attacking the fixtures because Fernandes and Saka are staying regardless of the fixtures, but Martinelli and Mitoma positions are going to be rotated depending on the fixtures. After game week 2, when Manchester City have a game against Newcastle, even though it's at home, I can see how they're playing, who is nailed, and I can just put him in the side instead of Martinelli or Mitoma. Spurs are having good fixture run after game week 2. Other teams may appear more appealing than Arsenal and Brighton, but those 2 positions are, let's say, nailed to be swapped no matter what, because I don't care if they're in good form or in bad form. I just have to adapt to the fixtures. But players like Saka and Fernandes are just more reliable during a longer period of time because they're nailed, they're having penalties, they're like a talisman to their side, while Martinelli and Mitoma can be easily rotated, especially when European football and domestic cups appear. So I can just adapt here. I can swap Martinelli, as already explained, with Rashford, but I believe the two fixtures, a home fixture against Nottingham and Crystal Palace away game, are far better than the Wolves at home and then Spurs away for Manchester United. And I want to attack the first two fixtures with those two players, Martinelli and Mitoma. So for me, they're the rotatable players. I have a one player in my draft that's in the forward line that is as well rotatable, but we'll discuss it in a minute. Martinelli can easily go to a Spurs player or a Odegaard or a Rashford or whoever I want because I can just improve him. I have 1 million in the back as already stated, but for me, Martinelli is the most electric, less percentages owned and high risk, high reward, and I just want to have a little bit of fun. You'll see in a minute the percentages. I have a separate sheet with the percentages. I'm going to discuss where I'm missing with those, but for me, Martinelli can bring up a lot of points. Last year, he started very well. There weren't Havertz and Trossard in the side when last season started, and Smith Rowe was injured, so Martinelli was pretty out. But this season, with the price of 8.0, I believe that he can return a lot of points as well. And Anderson already discussed. I believe that there is nothing to add more to his appeal, that he's exciting preseason guy, that he's scoring goals, and I enjoy having Punt on my bench at least. So yeah, that's the midfield, and now let's see the fourth line. I there have a surprise for you as well. If you so far enjoyed my team selection and my analysis, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate your help a lot. Now let's jump into the forward line. The most obvious thing that we're not going to discuss at all, it's Haaland. I have not made a draft without Haaland and without Saka at all, and I don't think you should be doing that as well. Haaland is just, in my opinion, going to tear up the Premier League once again, and having him captain for the first game weeks is the reason that I'm not owning any other premium. I was considering Salah for a lot of time, but I'm not just going to captain him, and Fernandes and Martinelli together with the Darwin pick can bring up a lot more points than Mbumo, Salah, and maybe let's say João Pedro. So yeah, that was the other option for my draft because the money added up perfectly fine. But for me, Haaland is going to be the captain, and I don't see any appeal of owning Salah right now without captaining him. And he's having a couple of rock fixtures. And yeah, for me, Haaland, the most nailed player in my side. He's very highly owned, and I'm going to captain him basically every week. Yeah, I'm playing with 10 players basically, but I do not care. I want to have fun elsewhere, and I can just do not think about that and just own him and captain him each game week. Then we're going to discuss Nkunku. He is the new player from Chelsea, and I believe that he's going to be having a pretty good season. Yeah, there is a record of Leipzig player joining Chelsea that's not appearing too good and do not live up to the expectations, but I believe Nkunku is far better player than Werner, and he's going to play another role. He's already having preseason games against other Premier League sides, and he's scoring goals against them. He's providing assists. He has played the more minutes in the outfield player for Chelsea. That's going to be nailed basically. And for me, Nkunku is a pretty interesting pick, and he is going to be playing in my side. I enjoy Chelsea fixture run between game week 1 and 8, and I don't see them being as bad as last season. So having two players from Chelsea for their price is a pretty reasonable option for me. They're basically like Arsenal last season, cheap and with good fixture runs at the start. So I do not see any way without owning Nkunku. And Darwin is my wildcard pick here. I want to own a Liverpool player at least for the first two fixtures, especially for game week 2. And I see Darwin as the most exciting one. Yeah, he is not nailed. I can go for Jota in midfield and play a 3-5-2, but I believe that the 3-4-3 formation is way more flexible. I can go for Jota and just have a easier way to go to, let's say, Foden and not want to replace Martinelli if he's doing well, or Mitoma. But I want to have a forward because for sure a forward will emerge as a good option, especially a cheap forward, and I want to jump as fast as possible. Last season Mitrovic did that, and he was a pretty good option for a very long time, and he was cheap enough. So yeah, Darwin is another placeholder in my side. Martinelli, Mitoma, and Darwin are the fixture placeholders. Yeah, Darwin is having a bad fixture in game week 1, but in game week 2 is a Liverpool cover up against a Bournemouth side at home. I believe that is a pretty good reason to own Darwin, or at least a Liverpool asset from the start. And then you can easily drop him to a Morris from Luton and play 4-4-2, and then just put Morris in your side, or just go for Joao Pedro if he is a good option for you, or pick Wissa maybe because he's a good Brentford player that is going to have minutes in his bank. You have a lot of options, but yeah, Darwin, Martinelli, and Mitoma are the players that are going to be fixture rotatable, and I do not want to own a team that is not going to be rotatable up until game week 8, which is absurd, because I want to sacrifice some of the players just to have the new best player that is emerging as the FPL option, or a good fixture swing or something like that. And players like Nkunku, Haaland, Saka, Mitoma, and the defense is going to be nailed, and Fernandes as well. Not Mitoma, sorry, Saka and Fernandes. Well, Mitoma, Martinelli, and Darwin are going to be the players that are going to be rotated and attacking the newly emerged FPL options. And I believe you should prepare at least 2 spots in your side that you are pretty fine of sacrificing without destroying your structure, without tearing up your site, and without making too many sacrifices of the plan that you made, because you have to have a pretty okayish plan for the first 4 to 5 fixtures, and then it's whatever the game provides to you, just adapt it. But you need to have in your plan a safely emerged player that you can easily rotate, and I believe that 2 to 3 players is the best number to do so. And I hope that you just have that player and you're not just preparing a draft for the whole game week 1 to 38, which is absurd because new players were going to emerge. And yeah, just prepare fail safe basically in your site wherever you can swap them. And for me, Martinelli, Mitoma, and Darwin are the guys to do that in my site. Before ending the video, I wanted to show to you the ownership of the players that I have in my site. I have a pretty good structure of mostly owned players, semi-owned, and a little bit of differentials. Let's discuss them. The most nailed players, Saka, Estupiñán, and Haaland, are the most owned, and they're in the green bracket for me. I'm starting with them. I'm not selling them for sure right now. Yeah, Estupiñán, I believe that he's going to drop in price, especially around game week 4. But if I own him for a very long period of time, I do not care about that, because he's just going to be my draft. And if I do not transfer him out, I do not care about his price points. So yeah, Haaland 86% at the time of recording, Saka 54, almost 55, and Estupiñán just a little bit over 50% owned. Then I have 5 players that are between 20 and 50% ownership. That's the mid ownership. It's Mitoma home fixture against Luton. That's pretty obvious. Bruno Fernandes, Nkunku, Ramsdale, and John Stone. I believe that that is pretty good. I have 8 players that are over 20% owned, so I'm basically not behind the FPL template, but I'm a little bit differential because they're between 20 and 50%. That means at least between 50 and 80% of the points that they earn are going to be differential for me, which is good enough at the start. And I do not want to go very differential, because if they do not provide and the template provides, I'm going to fall behind a lot. And you cannot win the fantasy game at the start of the season, but you can for sure lose it. So I do not want to do that. Then I have 2 players between 10 and 20%. I believe that their ownership will increase, especially Darwin. Ownership will increase unless Klopp says that he's not playing. I see Darwin going around the 20% ownership mark, because a lot of content creators are now pushing him, and me especially, and obviously. So yeah, I believe that he will jump into the another bucket. So I'll have 9 players that are basically template, which is fine. And then I'll have Martinelli. I do not see him going over 15% even ownership, and Chuo is going to be my differential. Yeah, he's picking up points, and yeah, he's going to go around the 15% as well. But you cannot go against the form, because he's providing. If he was playing badly at preseason, I was just not going to consider him. So I cannot be mad that he's playing good in preseason and returning some goals and assists, even though it's preseason. But for now, at the time of recording, he is under 10% and he is the most differential one. But on my bench, as you can see, I have pretty differential bench. Randolph 0.5%. I own him. I won't play him. He is there just not to lose the prize money, because I will rotate my goalkeepers when I'm playing my wildcard and another good option emerges. Pedro Porro will be a differential for sure coming game week 3 when I'm going to play him for sure. And he's going to be around the 5% ownership maximum, and he's going to bring a lot of points if he scores a goal or returns anything. And just when the other guys are going to take him into their sides, their fixture will turn for the worse. And for me, having a Spurs player from the start, even though it's on the bench and even though it's a 5.0 defender, seems a pretty good option. Cabore 2.7% compared to almost 20% ownership from Bell is pretty good. You're not going to lose value. If someone else emerges as a 4.0 option, I'm going to swap him easily without losing any price. And Anderson, a little bit over 5%, yet he's having a good preseason, but he's taking up a Newcastle spot. They're having a bad fixture run up until game week 4, but after that, it's pretty sky clear basically. So yeah, the bench is pretty differential. That means that I'm not going to lose a lot of money and value in my players that are on the bench. I can play them because they're basically playing, and I'm having a mid to high template draft. I know that is boring for some of you, but what can you do? I do not own players in defense like Onana, who's going to be highly owned, and Areola, who's believed to be playing, and most of the guys are picking him as a 4.0. But if he doesn't play and he drops in price, I'll be very sad. So for now, I'm not owning him. Luke Shaw, Trippier, and Trent are the defenders that are going to hurt me the most, but I don't see Trippier providing a lot of returns, especially in the first 4 fixtures. Trent, I don't see Liverpool keeping a lot of clean sheets, and I just cannot integrate him right now in my side. And Luke Shaw is the big miss here, but I don't believe Manchester United on the road are very good defensively, and they're having pretty bad fixtures on the road. So I'm not going for a Manchester United player. In midfield, Salah, Mbumo, and Rashford are the guys that are going to hurt me the most, especially Rashford. But as I already said, I don't think Manchester United are a pretty high scoring team. And I believe only one player from their side is enough. And the penalty taker and the cheaper option takes place because Rashford can be rotated, Garancho can be placed on his side, he can be preserved, while Fernandes for me is going to play basically 90 minutes. And up front, Jesus is the guy that is going to hurt me the most because I don't believe that he's going to be playing very well. And after game week 2, when Chelsea are having a pretty good fixture run, Jackson and Nkunku are going to be very popular options, and he's going to drop down in price, and that I'll be persuaded to sell him, which I do not want because I want to have flexibility, and I want to have an option to swap Martinelli and Mitoma, not for sure Darwin. But if I owned Jesus, I will have to swap him for sure, and that's a little bit tricky, and I believe that this is not the way to play the game for me. So Jesus, Rashford, Salah, Mbumo, Shaw, Trent, and Trippier and Onana are the guys that I do not want to earn points at this point of time because I do not own them, but most of the template is covered by me. I have a pretty mid template team, and the 3 most popular players in each of the outfield lines are in my side, so I'm safe there. So I feel pretty good about game week 1. I want to hear your input about my team selection. Please write it down in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I hope to see you soon from another video or for the live stream, the deadline live stream. But for now, guys, I'll be heading out. Bye!